Right then. Okay, live streaming by the looks of things. Okay, welcome everybody. The Legend Community Meeting of today, the 14th of September. Time is rushing on this year again. Just to note that this is a working party. All votes and everything are basically to pass forward to the full council for approval. Welcome, Henry. We'll get to you. As Henry is here, I will bring forward the grant applications early so Henry doesn't have to hang around too long. Okay, apologies for absence, item number 2. Sorry, can't hear.
With apologies for absence from Councillor Thurman, Councillor Marks and Councillor Roach.
Lovely, thank you very much. Declarations of interest and requests for dispensation from anybody?
None received.
No, can't see any hands up. Thank you very much. So, item number 4, appointment of a vice chair. As Paula has stepped down. Any nominations, please? Anybody? Anybody want to do the job? Dave Smith, Councillor Smith.
Sorry, can I just ask, is the vice chair for the arts and leisures, not the leisure and community?
It's the same thing.
Is it? Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah.
Maybe a terminology.
Yeah.
Are you this working party? Sorry, Councillor Lucarini, sorry.
Didn't we do this at the last meeting?
Did we?
I thought it is Dave that is the vice chair. Am I wrong?
Sorry. So where's the minutes?
Yeah, well, hang on a minute.
Sorry, that's a sense of deja vu. You're absolutely right. I'm pleased the same person volunteered again. Apologies, I must have left it on the agenda.
And I didn't even notice it on the minutes. I read straight past that. I apologise profusely.
I didn't feel a thing.
So actually, Councillor Smith, you are vice chair, by the way. Have we?
Vaguely rings a bell now.
Did we? That doesn't have to be rectified by full council, does it?
Well, it would already have been accepted as a recommendation.
Yeah,
because the last ones have been adopted.
Yeah, I'm just assuming it was on the last full council recommendations. I'd have to check.
But it wouldn't. It's the full council accepts the minutes and the recommendations therein.
Yeah. Okay. Just I can't remember. Okay, all right. I blame the summer myself. Okay, we'll ignore item number 4 then. Minutes of the last meeting. Let's move on to that then. Held on the 6th of July. Do you want to put them on the screen for us, Colin, if you can?
Yep.
Only because I've got one on my machine here. But okay, can I have a proposer, please? Assuming you've read these minutes. Councillor Lucarini, a seconder, please. Councillor Dave Smith. All those in favour, please show. Include yourself on that. Thank you very much. Okay, so item number 6 is to note progress of those things as we got them on the screen now. Page 96 was nothing. Page 97. Where do we stand with these? I did speak to... sorry, interrupting. I did speak to Damien Parker about this the other day when when I spoke to him on Friday, not about this particular thing. And I said, we're still waiting on this. And I think he said he passed it to the property group, but I don't know if that's happened.
He may well have done, but I think we said at the last meeting that I was instructed to get on and do it.
Yeah.
So I have a cost of £270.80 for 23mm rigid ACM exterior grade full colour one-sided signs, which would be more than enough to go around the area. and I'm just waiting for Sarah to come back to cast her expert eye over the content, and then they can go straight for print and be up.
Are they going to be in pidgin language as well?
Pidgin English.
In English, yeah. That was a joke, but sorry. Terrible. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Moving down. You tell it's been a long day. Page 9, going on to page 98.
Yeah. So that work wasn't done in time for the July thing, so we'll go to September.
Fine. Okay. And the rest of it is just the reports that we have. Thank you very much. Okay.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah, sorry, I was about to say that. Councillor Liz Smith.
I just noticed on the bottom it said the mayor had closed the meeting. It wasn't. It was. I wasn't there, so it would have been John.
I've had a really bad day reading these. But the trouble is, I normally print them off, and I forgot to do that. I printed everything else off.
Yeah, so it's just probably
Sorry.
left over from a previous meeting, I would have thought.
Yeah, we'll correct those. Apologies.
Yeah, sorry. I normally do read them. Well, I did read them, but I didn't print them off because I normally fine-tooth read them. Anyway, right. Very quickly, is there any members of the public at all, Colin?
There's Henry is here.
Yeah. Is that it? Yeah, nobody else? Just before I get to Henry? Right, okay. We're going to bring forward item 9B for Bravo, which is the REACH grant application. So Henry Wilson, MBE, can speak if you would like to, Henry. That's up to you.
That'll be great. Bear with me a moment. I'm just going to, hopefully, if I share that one, I'll be able to open that one. And you can all see that, I hope.
Yes, thank you, Henry.
Yeah. Does it work? Yes, it does. I don't know if you can see the numbers on the side there, because on mine, yeah, okay, good.
I can. I don't know if I've got a big wide screen there, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, mine. I've just had to move. Just had to move the people, so I can't see any faces now, I'm afraid. But yeah, just to say really that this last year, I guess the last 18 months naturally have been really odd in terms of certainly, well, in terms of everything, but certainly for us, certainly the last year, and this is basically what we're looking at really. I think this is from end of or November right through to now, of where we're up to. And I would say in some respects it's different, because in some respects the poorer side of families have been reasonably catered for. I say reasonably. Yes, there are still issues, there are still many things, and so some of the families that we have helped in previously, who would end up having to come back to us because of benefit caps and things like that, have found themselves to be helped, especially over school holidays when they've had school vouchers and things like that. So the numbers obviously include these things, but of course what it doesn't actually show really is what's coming up. And of course what's coming up from the end of this month, you don't need me to tell you, I hope you don't, and that is the universal credit cut, which is going to see an increase, certainly is expected and anticipated, an increase in the number of people needing food help. I don't want to misquote anything, but I believe that the in-work figures for people in work and in receipt of universal credit could even be as much as a third. So it's not like people are not working or anything like that, but they are receiving, going to be receiving a benefit cut. I'll go into carry on with the numbers in a minute, but even now, our figures for September, as they stand at the moment, are looking like to be one of the busiest months ever, certainly for a long time, if not ever. I mean, every day there are many more food boxes going out, many more people, you know, contacting us for help. I mean, one lady in particular contacted us. She's got a family. She lives in Haverhill, and her husband left, and he's not paying her anything. I'm not saying it's right or wrong or anything like that, but the long and short of it really is that she's worried about paying her mortgage, and is there anything that we can do to help? And of course, you know, with the universal credit that's a cut that's coming, she's really worried. But of course, on top of that, you've also got the end of furlough. I'm not really sure how that's going to affect people, but we definitely are going to be experiencing an increase in energy bills. And of course, then there's inflation, and that's probably where it gets beyond me. But anyway, so these are the numbers that we've been actually helping, just to give you a little bit of an indication of what we've been doing. And obviously, we will put together a proper report towards the end of our financial year, which is the end of this month. So just to give you an overall an idea, 753 families and 931 adults and 526 children. We've got a new piece of software which does make things hugely easier than it ever has before. So much easier to pull together. Just a little bit of a breakdown of some of the issues that people are facing. It's a huge number of people needing help with food. This is the primary reason why they're coming to us. Debt, by the way, is almost been placed on hold. Certainly through the pandemic, but it's now beginning to get a lot busier. And we have recruited. We've got an extra one full-time person who's going to be helping with the debts and some of the other issues here. We've also put somebody directly to deal with benefit inquiries, and the team members will also be dealing with housing and some of the client aid issues. I mean, there's a lot of numbers here, and I realise that, so do stop me if you want to ask me any questions on this, by the way. So I'm going to flick through the next ones really, because in some respects these are smaller, but the whole lot of the numbers, you know, also include our, you know, the Horseheath, Castle Camps, Linton, Abington, but you can see not huge numbers, but I wouldn't expect there to be huge numbers in comparison to Haverhill. A little bit of the breakdown, you can see. We probably would have done more food, but Linton set up Linton. There was something they set up in Linton about food, but I think that's pretty much fizzled out. So we're picking up a lot of those pieces now, really, now that their little food bank thing is beginning to wind up. Rural Suffolk, basically it's West Suffolk. It's just what it's been called. So these are like Clare, Cavendish, Glemsford, Hundon, Keddington, places like that, really. So just gives you an idea of people who, you know, there is pockets of, you know, financial hardship and crisis, you know, in the outlying areas of Haverhill. Interesting, I just noticed on their mental health. I mean, mental health is only something that we've just been recently recording, which the primary issue, but obviously it's, you know, we'll have better figures, let's say next year. It's still a new bit of software, you know, bit of kit that we're still working on, and finding new things all the time, which is brilliant. But just to give you a rough idea of what's actually happening, I'll move on. North Essex, so that's goes as far as Ridgewell, Yeldham, Bumpsteads. Occasionally we'll go out Hempstead, but not very often. But you'll get the odd call here and there from health visitors who need help with families out in the North Essex area. Again, just a little bit of the breakdown, relatively minor in terms of what we're doing, but we know that you know, that there's so much need out there. Debt. Now, these are just this year figures only. So in other words, every year we will carry through could be 30, could be 40 cases that are, carrying on, that we're working on, because the debt can sometimes take 4 to 6 months to, complete a case. But these are the cases that have come on in the last year. It's low because, like I say, debt has pretty much been on hold throughout the last year, and getting information back from creditors has proved incredibly challenging, and we've had to even threaten some creditors that they're not complying with the Financial Conduct Authority regulations, that they need to respond, to the requests that we're sending through. But pleased to see that 11 is probably going to be more likely, 60, 65, or maybe even 70, could be higher. But there's I was going to say 11, not 10, 11 who have completely, have got themselves out of debt, and 17 are well on their way. Some give up, some go alone, but on the whole, really, I mean, debt is the one that's the really biggest issue that we face, and obviously trying to help people get beyond that. And we've got a waiting list as we speak at the moment on the people who are waiting for help. Just sum up with the food bank. Food box distributed a little bit lower than the previous year, believe it or not. But again, lots of help out there from local, from the governments. We're also using some food vouchers which have been given by Suffolk County Council. So, for instance, we have £5,000 of food vouchers, which has been fantastic. So we've been able to give a food voucher instead of giving a food box. So the numbers could be slightly look a little bit skewed because of that. But I mean, to be honest, anything which would meant that we were able to reduce the number of people being helped with food, giving somebody a voucher is far more dignifying, that they can actually go and buy their own food. And like I say, at the moment, we are definitely seeing a sharp increase in the number of people contacting us for food help. When I say ward breakdowns, my colleague has written ward breakdowns, but basically district, I should think, really, rather than ward. Haverhill by far the largest, and yeah, others, well, just so you know, those places we might actually get a call from someone who's can't get a food box. I don't know, it could even be like somewhere like Sudbury or something like that, and someone or a health visitor will come and collect a food box or something like that. So we don't get a lot of that, but occasionally that's why that's in there. Any questions on that?
Henry, thank you very much indeed. Before I come to anybody else, I just want to ask a very quick question. I mean, I did know that you worked outside Haverhill, but can you tell me how South Cambs, North Essex, and perhaps other parishes in Suffolk contribute to your finances, if at all?
Cambridge Community Foundation are pretty good, so they contribute quite well, and so does Essex Community Foundation. I wouldn't say much in the way of parishes do with. I've not got much in the way of relationships there, but certainly Linton, we get good contributions from Linton and some of the churches as well out in Cambridgeshire as well. As we do in the rural places. We've had a little bit of money from Clare Town Council, but relatively small.
Okay, thank you for that. Sorry, Councillor Daysmith.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Henry, for that. Just wondering, in your application, you say you're open 5 afternoons a week, and a lot of the work you do is like checking over the phone. And I'm just wondering, how going forward, how much more use do you think you're going to get from the resource centre? Because I'm guessing people have got used to now, in the current situation, of doing things over the phone and perhaps on the internet or whatever. And how many people actually go into the resource centre? And the other question is really, how much of the grant is the grant being used for staff, or is it being used for the actual cost of the running cost of the centre?
It's used for the whole of the project, if you see what I mean. So there will be some staffing costs in there. There's also no gas, but electricity costs. There's utilities, and it's just the general running costs as well. But also in regards to numbers, people coming into the resource centre, we did try and limit that during the time of lockdowns and restrictions. We could try not to have too many people in at once, but best laid plans, people are just turning up now on a regular basis, and so we now have a policy in place where if somebody turns up, we've actually put tables, little tables where people can actually, they're like cafe tables. So if there's a cafe table available when you come to the resource centre, then it's free and it's available to use. There's also, we want to get back to using the computers, telephone, and because that was quite a high use. And of course, people have not been coming in to do that, not been able to. One of the biggest issues that we've faced, and it's beginning to resolve itself now, is volunteers. Volunteers just didn't come back afterwards, and that did cause us a little bit of a problem. So it's so we have, like over the summer months in particular, we have struggled a little bit there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think on the volunteer, I don't think you're alone on that. Was there anybody else who wanted to ask any questions of Henry while he's here? No? Okay. In which case, there's a grant application in for £10,000 for this project. As Henry explained, it basically covers all the running costs as mentioned in the grant application. I'm also very pleased to see the results of the software, which Henry and I know about, being used. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I'd like to propose that we grant Reach the full £10,000. It's very well spent, well deserved.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Joe Mason, is that seconding?
Yes, Chair, very much. It's amazing work that's Reach do, and anything we can do to support their excellent work. I'm very happy to second.
Lovely, thank you for that. Okay, unless there's any other comments, we've had a proposer by Councillor Brown, seconded by Councillor Mason. All those in favour, please show. I'll put my hand up, there you go. Yeah, sorry, thanks. And I guess, Councillor Davison, you're not because of your work with Reach? Okay, did you want to declare that as a non-pecuniary interest, that you work there, or volunteer there rather, just for the record?
Thank you, Chair. Just really wanted to find out what was happening and listening to what Henry's got to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lovely. I know you're not on the thing, but I just wanted to know what that's what you were here for. That's what I assumed you was. So thanks. Okay, thank you. So obviously, Henry, thank you for your time. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but I'm sure you've got better things to do.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your support. And like I say, obviously we'll do a proper report and, full report with stories. Yeah. So over the coming weeks, we've got harvest, and we've also got a move to go through as well, another warehouse move, unfortunately, which is makes you a bit grey, but hey ho. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, Henry, appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye.
Right, so let's move back to item 8 alpha, which is the, sorry, I'm going to sneeze, Arts and Leisure Manager. I've lost you again. Oh, there you are, Nick. Excuse me. Can you go ahead, Nick? I'm about to sneeze, sorry.
Okay, I'll just cover John sneezing there. Thank you, and welcome to this rainy day. I won't run through this word for word. I mean, the Arts Centre is a bit of a mixed picture. We're having a few things where we're having relatively okay numbers, and some where it's very, very slow. That matches the picture in a lot of the rest of the theatre world, really, in terms of reduced audiences and expectations. There's, some tours are being called off because of not enough people. International tours are being called off because they can't guarantee the audiences will be there as well. So consequently, our programme is very lopsided and it's not very even, but we're doing the best that we can at the moment. Towards Christmas, it does pick up with local dance shows, which we've got one in September and another one in November, and we're hoping that pantomime will do okay. We're still not expecting it to fly as well as normal, but we are hoping that we'll do okay. Operationally, we're fairly back to normal, and generally people are complying with what we're asking in terms of leaving distances and masks. We moved outside for a lot of the summer events program, which was mainly in the towns on Saturdays, summer Saturdays. We had some great times out there. There have been some amazing images and memories formed, I think, during the market days on Saturdays there. Some spectacular things and some very unusual things and some very creative things as well. We've tried to engage with the community as much as possible, using local talents and local companies wherever we can, and bringing in people from outside where we can't. It did all come to a big conclusion with the Haver the Dane on last Saturday, the 4th of September, which was pretty spectacular and got an amazing reaction. We're hoping that now that we've got Haver, we might use him in other events as well, because it's going to be quite a useful thing to have in our canon. The Government Recovery Fund is funding additional Saturday entertainment, which is just being worked on at the moment, and that will focus on some music, some street entertainment, some rides, and some workshops, which run through until Christmas. If anybody wants to sort of stop and question, then that's fine. Remembrance and Queen's Jubilee. Remember at the last meeting we talked about those going to the organisation or committee or subgroup that has been organising things like that. Remembrance is well on the way. We're working with the Royal British Legion to put that together. We sent out the invitation to the groups to go into the parade. So far we've had 2 groups come back, but they've all had information about that, and we're working towards putting that back to somewhere like it used to be. So it will take place on Sunday the 14th. And the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, which is in June 2022, we're knocking around some ideas for that. There's a 4-day bank holiday weekend type thing from Thursday to Sunday, and we're looking at how we might get that sort of menu of international, national and local and regional participation by doing our own thing, but also joining in with what's going on around the country. A big event which I know councillors have been interested in that is coming to Haverhill on October the 9th is the Women's Tour. I've been attending some of the technical meetings and also the community participation meeting, and one of the projects which we're doing is the decorated bikes throughout the town, which we're working with the Heart of Haverhill on. I think we've got 25 bikes being decorated at the moment. They're good numbers, everything from schools to community groups to individual artists to people who just want to have a go. So there's going to be some quite interesting bikes. They're not all going to be covered in flowers and colours. There's some going to be covered in more crazy things than that. So that's going to be put together into a trail by Heart of Haverhill as part of the Loyal Free app, which the town council sponsored. So that people can go and collect barcodes, and if they if they come across all of the bikes, then they get entered into a competition to win a prize. So we've had bikes donated from the community, and also took a trip across to the Bury waste disposal site, the recycling centre, to pick up some bikes from there as well. So they've been distributed out to groups.
Can I just stop you there? Sorry, Nick. Councillor Dave Smith wanted to ask a question.
No, you just answered the question just as way Daisy was just asking where the bikes were coming from. So.
One from my garden shed as well.
Don't use it then.
It's been there. No, it's my son's been there 20 years.
Yeah, I've kept that one, John. Actually, that was rather a good one.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine, but you can carry on anyway.
Yeah, that's roughly half and half. We went to the Bury, recycling centre, but we've also had some donated from, and I'm still getting offers of bikes. So it's something that if we ever repeat it, we know they're out there. We're also organising a programme of street entertainment, and hopefully some singers on the stage as well, local people singing, and getting involved in the logistical support, just supporting the organisational team with local knowledge really of where people are likely to go and which way they're going to move. So hopefully it will be a really big thing for the town, and enjoyable too. We are staffing and supplying some resources. The Christmas subgroup has met now, and what we talked about there was the new lighting scheme, which is going to be going in over the next couple of months. There's a new lighting tender has been awarded for the Christmas lights, which are going to be enhanced this year. There will be, along with the new lights, comes a Christmas light switch on, which we're looking to do, and we're looking to involve Haver in that, leading a torchlight procession as well. So we're going to get the Viking out and put lights in it, and we're going to be having community workshops to lead a torchlight procession, or not torchlight, but sorry, a lantern procession through the town, and that's on November the 18th. That's sometime around 6 o'clock. As requested by the committee last time, we're moving ahead with Family Christmas Night, which we're starting to look at as it was, again working with Heart of Haverhill on the business engagement. And I've been talking with the markets today about how we can move the market into the street. So it's very much modelled on what we were looking at in 2019, which was pretty well rained off that night, but it had all the elements that we wanted to make it successful, and finishing up the fireworks display at the end of it, the traditional evening, and that will be followed by a Super Saturday, which would have a mini version of the trail that we put in last year. So we're trying to incorporate both of those things which the council were looking for, but rather than go across 2 weekends, it's going to go across the Friday and the Saturday. That will be enhanced by extra marketing initiatives from the local government recovery fund, and we'll keep it flexible really. I was talking today with one of the fireworks companies about what is going on, and there's not loads of fireworks displays going on this year. There's going to be many less than there were, but there are fireworks displays. Now it does benefit from being in quite a large space where people can distance if required. Those dates for all of those events which we've been talking about are on the back of the report. The YAG, the Youth Action Group, there's been some good work going on from a subgroup which is looking at a young person's mental health strategy, which is being drawn up with Sandra and Dan and the group as well. So there's work going forward on that, as it recognised that young people's mental health was the major issue at the moment. And the main YAG will be meeting in October to move ahead with how to develop their new strategy too. Community kitchen is, with Sean having left, it's still got work going on there. The befriending scheme are meeting there. Sandra Linnane has been leading sessions with the emergency cadets there, and a few other bits and pieces too. So there'll be a paper coming soon to look at how we use the funding that is left over in that grant to see what type of person we might need to employ as a coordinator, move that forward. And then there's an other there really. There's two new projects in town, which is the West Suffolk COVID vaccination programme, which is trying to find pockets of people and communities who where there's low uptake of the vaccine. And we talked with those the coordinator there about how we might use the town council resources and again the knowledge and the contacts that we have with the different communities in town to help them start up those conversations. And there is also the Get Suffolk Reading Project, which is Suzanne Stevenson, who previously worked for Lifelink, is the lead-in on that particular project. And that is literally looking for opportunities wherever they can to have literacy initiatives and looking for volunteers and literacy champions. And she's got some projects already lined up in terms of, reading on town centre benches. And I believe that she may be asking to present to the town council at some point in time to say what her project is doing, which is, levelling up inequalities in literacy. The last piece on there is that we're always open for councillors to volunteer for events. If you do want to do that, please let me know. A couple of councillors have already put down their availability in terms of helping out at events. And the final bit there is the programme, the outdoor events which are coming up in the future. So if anybody's got any questions, or that'd be cool.
Councillor Lucarini.
Yeah, thanks for that, Nick. I just wanted to pick up on the Halloween trail, just about why it's not at East Town Park. Obviously, it's one of our most popular events that we put on. And at the last meeting, we voted that the Halloween trail and Christmas event should be planned as normal, and if necessary, adapted to conform any COVID guidance in force at the time. Obviously, there isn't any legislation in place at the moment, and the government have said they're not going to release any more guidance unless things change. I'm just wondering why it's been moved to the Scouts and Guides ground, and why we're also charging £1 to get in. Obviously, people pay quite a lot of council tax in the Haverhill area, far more than other areas. It just seems a little bit wrong now that we're not in the height of the pandemic to charge people for what was always a free event.
One of the big problems that we had with the Halloween trail was the amount of people and the experience that people were able to get from it. And we had some excellent feedback last year because we were able to give people a better experience by putting on 3 shorter trails than one great big long one, which we wouldn't be able to do if we were back in East Town Park. The site down there is huge, and the event itself had a certain beneficial from making it into something slightly more user-friendly, really. The number of people we were getting down at East Town Park at once, which was up to 3,500 people, just developed into one long queue. We can't sustain that with the actors and the performers that we have over that period of time. We were asking some performers to be in character and in costume and on stilts for up to an hour and a half. So for this year, because it wouldn't be possible to adapt that down if there were any COVID restrictions, the Scouts and Guides Centre is a better bet. It's not to say it wouldn't ever move back to East Town Park, but in terms of making it available, making it able to be more COVID safe and friendly and a more rationalised event, that's really the rationale behind that.
Okay, Councillor Lucarini.
Yeah, I can kind of see the rationale. I think we've just got to be prepared that people are going to be a little disappointed I'm already holding off posting a few posts on the Haverhill Facebook group asking about the Halloween trail this year. I think people are expecting it to be in East Town Park as normal. I also slightly worry about the cost per head when it's in the Scouts and Guides ground. Obviously, it does get quite expensive if not that many people are going around it. But hopefully next year we can see it return.
So for in last year we had more than 1,200 people go around it. We can get more around it this time because we were fully socially distanced last time. So we will be able to get more than 2,000 people around the trail.
If we aim for more, that would be really good, Nick.
Okay. Can't see any other hands up. The only other question I wrote down here, which I didn't interrupt you at the time, was about the community kitchen. And I've got Councillor Furman coming. I've just started. I'll finish. I did have a request the other day via the Facebook page for somebody to be able to use the kitchen. I assume that we are trying to accommodate external people who can bring income into us as well.
Yeah, I haven't received that, John. So
okay, all right. Maybe they were going to. I gave them the email address of the office, so I don't know whether that was sent in. I'm sure Alicia could tell us at the end of the meeting. That's fine.
Which email address was that?
The one that goes to, I think it goes to ultimately to Alicia to forward on.
Okay, I haven't had anything at the current.
No, I wanted to go to a generic address on. Okay, that's fine, but yeah, okay. Right, thank you for that. Sorry, and Councillor Furman, there you go. I can see you now.
I'd just like to say to Nick and his team, what a fantastic job they've done in their high street for entertainment during this bad bloody time. I mean, the Viking, the street entertainers, has really brought a nice atmosphere to the town centre on a Friday. I mean, Saturday, sorry. I mean, there's no trade at all, but the people down here, I mean, it's brought people to town. I think they've done a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, that was, I think, a thumbs up. Did you want to speak, Councillor Brown?
Please, Chair. Yeah, Nick, just going back to the Halloween trail again. As Aaron was saying, you know, if we can get 2,000 round the Scouts ground, that's good. But like you said, there's 3,500 people going around East Town Park. It's going to be an awful lot of disappointed people, and obviously the town's expanding. There's more people here than there were 2 years ago. It just seems, you know, a bit of a shame that, you know, there's going to be a lot of disappointment there. You know, it is a great event. I haven't got the answers, but it just seems something that needs to be, you know, possibly looked at, you know, to try and get, you know, more people round. Yeah. Cheers, Nick.
Yeah, sure. We will get around as many as we can round that space, but really 3,500 people was too many. We couldn't run the event successfully, and it just turned into one great big queue. There was we couldn't scare anybody. We couldn't get it round in time. So it was getting too big, really, and that's a strange thing to say, but that was the case, is that there were too many people for the event by the last one that we ran down. But there's not to say that we couldn't try and run something along different lines, but because it's out of town, the changeover with the traffic that does get down there, we didn't have that traffic in town when we had that time. And the traffic, I don't know whether the police play ball with us with it down there, but a changeover of people going down there, if we tried to run it twice during the evening, I think that there might be something.
Yeah, no, if you can just give it as much thought as you can, because say town's getting bigger, and you know, how do you sort of sift through who gets, you know, to go and who doesn't get to go? That's, you know, my concern. Yeah, thanks, Nick. Anyway, yeah.
Colin, Paul.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add to Nick's list of events that this Saturday, the 18th, we've got the celebration of the opening of the splash pad, which is starting at 1 o'clock. The kind of whatever we decide to do, celebrate it at 2 o'clock. And thank you, Nick, for sorting that out. Unfortunately, we had short notice because we didn't know until the last minute when the splash pad was actually going to be open. But Nick's managed to get some good entertainment organised for the youngsters there. And also we have on the 25th, so the following Saturday, 25th of September, we have the sort of Haverhill Sustainable Market. I don't quite know what it's called, but it's part of the Haverhill contribution to the Big Green Week, which is a national event or national kind of programme of events that is in the run-up to COP26 at Glasgow. And so we've got lots of market stalls working in association with West Suffolk Council, stalls with an environmental theme, Friends of the Earth and East Town Park, and vegan stalls and planting tree seeds, etc. So there's quite a lot being planned in a very short period of time in order to get something going for that weekend. So just wanted to add those into the diaries of councillors if they can come down to the high street and see those things going on. It's all part of the programme that Nick was talking about and Councillor Furman was referring to in terms of getting people to come down, extra publicity for people to come down into the high street. Thank you.
Well, I better scratch those two off my list then, because I've got those written down for the end of this section. So thank you for that. Saves me talking about it. Lovely. I don't think there's anything else for Nick by the looks of things. Lovely, thank you very much. Right, moving on to reports for the youth skills managers, Karen and Dan. I saw a Facebook post the other day that they'd won an award of some sort. Anyone? Do you remember what it was, Aaron Catalucarini? No, I just saw them with a photo. I assume it was a modern. I assume it was the latest thing because it was a new post.
I did see that posted, but I thought it was referring to an award that they had won before, because they won that award about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Well, unless
they've won it again, but Karen hasn't actually told me they've won it again. I noticed the post,
yeah.
No, I'm quite sure that would have been in her report.
That's what I'd have thought, but I couldn't really read the glass thing very well.
Yeah, but it was they talked about it being an award-winning service, but it was kind of like an award that they won a little while ago.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. And that's the case then. Sorry, I guess everyone's read Cameron's report. Just got to find it again. Here we go. I like the case study of what was it, L, in the box at the end of her thing. I thought that was a really good report of somebody who's basically so maybe introverted. That's maybe a wrong term to use, but really come out of a box. So, any questions regarding that report? I think, personally, I think they, do the two of them together, and obviously the new Kickstart person that's coming along, and others have hopefully support our people like they've always done. Okay, can't see anything there. Okay. Move on to the next bit, which is, sorry, I'll get back to the agenda. Zone manager report from Sandra. I was at the zone there yesterday. I'll be up there tomorrow. I did notice that strangely at weekends, it seems to get quite quiet at weekends. I don't know whether that's excitement of kids going back to school. They've got, by that time they're a bit tired and everything. I don't know, but Councillor Liz Smith.
Just trying to unmute myself. Sorry about that. I just wanted to say, because you first the training that happened at the zone for the mental health action group, which I've recently joined. So I went to the training. It was really good. I quite enjoyed it. It was very useful. helped me from a perspective of understanding trauma and how people are affected by that. And obviously, as you know, I work at the prison, so I see a lot of people that have suffered trauma in some way or another. And it was a great piece of training that was offered free from what's they called? I've just lost the thing. The Hannah Power was the lady that, room 4, that's it. Yeah. So hopefully we'll see more of those things on offer.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you.
The only thing I can only comment on, only because I overheard it yesterday, is the Zumba is now finished outside, because they're moving back inside somewhere else. Councillor Dave Smith.
I just noting here that they've got new casual staff who've taken on, and I wonder if they're taken on with a view to a more permanent position.
Sorry, go on, Colin. I was going to say something. Go on.
So we always maintain a bank of casual staff, and where we have people go off to university every year, we then kind of backfill. There's always a little bit of churn for the casual staff. It's simply so that we have enough people to cover different shifts, etc. So it's perfectly possible that it's by no means unusual for us to find some really good people who start off as casuals and then find that they like what we do and we like what they do, and people can build a career out of it. So we've got a few people who in the past have established a pattern of work and then personnel committee agrees to offer them a contract on the back of that.
So I can just follow up there then. So if you say you've got a bank of people that you use, is there any sort of qualification these people need to have that need to be kept up to date? And is there any sort of cost element involved to that?
No, there's on-the-job training in terms of people working at the zone. Youth work, if people are signing on to be youth workers, then there is training for that. So recently we've had some people who work for your Haverhill South People's Forum, or the words in some other order, and they've been taken on as additional youth workers, so they can work the occasional shift to help them get experience, etc. So those would get training if it was available. Otherwise, they'd be very supervised. But people who are working at the zone, the advantage of zone is things like waiting at tables, serving in the cafe, etc. So that's just on the job training.
Yeah, and to add to that, of course, there is the zone is closed for 2 hours, is it, or hour and a half, for cleaning during the day, so that the staff clamber all over everything and clean it down for COVID reasons. Okay, any other questions on the zone or anything else to do with youth work? One thing that would be nice, Colin, I think, I noticed it yesterday, I think we ought to get a bit more of a permanent sign up there. It's not even a phone number on the sign.
Yeah, so the one that had the phone number has come down. I was at the zone this morning for a meeting with Sandra, and I think that was actually the very first item we discussed.
Right.
But I wasn't happy with the approach as you come up Sturmer Road and you see the zone. It looks a little bit sort of run down. So I've asked that they do some work on the fencing area, the grass, and get those signs sorted out. Sarah is working with Sandra on the identity in any case, because we put temporary banners up in the first place, which did have phone numbers on and web addresses. But yeah, it's very noticeable, and so that was being covered already.
I wonder if it's possible to think about if it, because the hopefully the chill out and the other thing, and I'm trying to remember what it's called, that Sandra did tell me about, whether it's worthwhile getting them, those youngsters involved in designing something.
It usually isn't, but that doesn't totally exclude the possibility that somebody comes up. But the difficulty is that you more or less, it's a bit like a Blue Peter competition. You more or less commit yourself to that being the Christmas stamp or whatever it might be, and then you just keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I'm sure Sarah would support me in that. It may not necessarily be the best outcome.
No, okay. It's just that Sarah will have one view because of where other people might have a more younger view, if you know what I mean, without being disparaging to Sarah, of course. Okay. And anybody else on that? No. Okay. And finally, we got the Have You report, which was sent out earlier today by Michelle Brace. Any comments on that at all? Anybody? No. Oh, Councillor Dave Smith.
The last time, I was asked about the community kitchen. I did mention to Gary at the Clements Fund Day that the flue hadn't been replaced. I wonder if that's been sorted out now.
Is it? This is the one that was found on the ground or something?
Yeah.
We believe it doesn't come from the kitchen.
It doesn't. Okay.
I think Colin will confirm this one way or the other.
That's what we were told, that the flue was actually from a third-party location, had been dumped at the Leyson Centre.
Right, okay.
The only flue I'm aware of that was ever there was the one for the gas boiler at the far end of the building. I don't believe that the kitchen had a flue.
That's fair enough. So we've caught the flue then.
Yes, double flue. Yeah.
I think it's just got isn't it just got a condensing? It's a condensing boiler, isn't it? In the kitchen, I'm talking about community kitchen.
It just has a slot out the back for so it's only a very small thing. But
yeah.
I haven't been up there, but I will have a look up there and just check that it is still there. And that, Kevin was thinking only of the much larger flue that comes out the top of the roof.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that one.
Chair, just so that Michelle did ask just a message to say that for councillors, as well as thanking you for reading the report, but also that if you can let Michelle know, or you can do that through Nick, if you currently work with any groups or groups of young people who may be interested in getting involved in the ongoing work of Have You, such as the upcoming support series of activities, it may be that councillors, if they can just have their radar tuned in, if they see something that might make a good Have You podcast or getting people involved in the work of Have You, it's always useful to get fresh faces in. Otherwise, at the moment, Michelle's working really, really hard to get the kind of critical mass. But it's obviously difficult for one person to have a really, really broad outlook across a town of nearly 30,000 people.
Okay. Thank you very much. Right, moving back to item number 9, Alpha, which is Home Start Mid and West Suffolk. They want £4,000 from us to support people in Haverhill. They are funded by various other entities as well, including West Suffolk through the Community Chest. So, any comments at all? Obviously, they're not here to present any supporting thing for that. So, Councillor Tony Brown.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it's another organisation that does really good work in town, supports those that quite vulnerable, etc. I fully support the money that they're asking for. It's the least we can do. Yeah.
Did I see somebody else put a hand up then? Oh, Councillor Dave Smith. Sorry, the pictures keep moving about. And Councillor Mason after that. Sorry.
Sorry, I seem to be hogging this tonight. I know part of their application was for travel costs. I mean, if they were going to be here tonight, I was going to say, well, why don't you employ somebody from Haverhill? If it's for a Haverhill service, one of the best services you could do is employ people in Haverhill. Yeah, because they're called Western. Was it Mid Suffolk and something or other?
Yeah,
there's no mention of West Suffolk. So why? Again,
Start,
why haven't we got a West Suffolk one?
Home Start Mid and West Suffolk it's called.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, they're not here, so we
I'll add something in a minute. But anyway, sorry. Come back. Councillor Mason.
Thanks, Chair. Just more of a technical thing. Is it usual that we give grants for things like refreshments? I don't remember seeing that listed on previous grant applications being accepted. It's not a huge amount of money, but it is there on their expenses.
Okay. I can't see anybody else there. I was a little bit concerned because, as has been mentioned, it is Mid and West Suffolk, and it's not a dedicated Haverhill unit. We do discuss it at West Suffolk Community Chest, of course, very similar things. I was really quite concerned, as has been mentioned, about the travel costs, and basically the vast majority of the cost is staffing costs, basically. And I don't even know where they actually run this from, because obviously one of the like most of these organisations that apply, they're based a long way away. In this case, I think I think it was something like that. So they've mentioned they support these people, but I've never really heard of them in town. I support the concept, but I'm just a bit worried at that, but that's my view. Councillor Liz Smith.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it actually again. I looked at it earlier, just looking at it again. Because it is Mid Suffolk as well as West Suffolk, although they say they're going to, it's to fund something at the Chalkston. I wonder if the expenses are across the board rather than just the actual costs for the one that's going to be set up in Haverhill. I don't know if anyone else is clearer on that than I am, but I just wondered whether the expenditure items that they've listed is across their whole service, or is it just based on Haverhill's cost? So I would be asking that question if they were here.
Colin.
Just to say that the section B, question 7, described the project. It says we're applying for this funding to continue run our very successful parent and child group in Haverhill, which will be running for the last 4 years. So they are saying that it is for this group. And in terms of the sessions they're describing, it seems to match in with the 46 weeks is in the budget, and 46 sessions is what they describe as holding. So certainly the impression I got from the application is they are referring to a continuation of the funding. But obviously, in terms of refreshments, there's no reason why they can't include refreshments if they want to, but it's down to councillors to whether they feel they want to include them. It's not unusual for refreshments to be part of the debate, if you like, to encourage people to come along in the first place. After 4 years, I don't know whether the volunteers are local, but if it is going on like that, it would be interesting to know if they couldn't train somebody up locally, because it's looking at the annual cost, whilst the staff cost, as Chairman identified, is the largest slice. It's not quite half the cost, and mileage is not that far behind. It's just over a third of the cost. So the mileage they're clocking up, given the project's been going 4 years, is probably a very legitimate question to why they don't organise something more locally and make it less expensive.
Yeah, I was also intrigued when I looked at this earlier. Is obviously somebody presumably has given locality budget money to this, but Chalkstone's on my estate, and I had forgotten it was at the Chalkstone. But I read that initially as if they were going to start it up at the Chalkstone, the way I read it initially. Not that it was running there now, but I've never heard of it being run in this town before. I don't know if Joe Public out there. And the other thing, like all these things, again we discussed this at West Suffolk, is what contributions do the attendees do, if anything? I'm not saying they're not all on the poverty line. So did you want to say that, Councillor Dave Smith?
Yeah, I was going to say that there's no indication here of any contribution on a week-to-week basis from the people using the service. From your own resources, including public fundraising, nothing. So yeah, as if they're not sort of making any effort themselves, other than going out to granting bodies to raise money.
And before I get back to Councillor Brown, the other thing, of course, is the Community Action Suffolk has only been applied for, and there's no mention of what happens if they fail to agree to any funding, of course. So, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, it seems that they're doing very good work and they've been helping people for the last 4 years. It's people that haven't got much money. So,
how do you know that? How do you know they don't have much
money? Well, why would they be going up to there every week or whatever it is then?
Because of what they claim they are able to do. I think that's the trouble is, like most of these things, if they've been doing it for 4 years, why have we got no anecdotal, like Henry Wilson did earlier?
There's a huge amount of things that go on in this town that we know nothing about.
Okay, all right. Big diff. Okay, Colin Paul, sorry.
Just to say, Chair, just to back up what Councillor Brown was saying, Home Start is aimed at families from lower income groups in the first place. So it's not entirely surprising that they're not charged. It's to help the kind of social mobility, give people the support that more well-off families simply buy for themselves in terms of the support for looking after children. And I'm fairly confident, and I did just message Nick to see whether he could remember, I'm pretty sure that there used to be Home Start posters on the poster board opposite the lift on the ground floor of the Arts Centre, promoting Home Start in Haverhill. I'm fairly confident because I used to work with Home Start and recognise some of the logos they used.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay, but there's actually no posters outside the Chalkstone Community Centre at all, so related to that. So there's an example of it. Okay. Anyway, anybody else? Councillor Lucarini.
I've just looked at their Twitter page, and over the last few years, Haverhill has been mentioned several times, the different activities they've been putting on.
Okay. Right, okay. There's a grant application in for £4,000. Is there a proposer, please? Councillor Tony Brown. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Lucarini. All those in favour, please show.
Chair, can I make a
Sorry, Councillor Mason.
Yeah, I mean, it may not carry, but can I just make a possible counter proposal before you proceed with that? That what we're doing is we're lacking information. We would dearly like to hear from them so that we can ask them and find out about the good work that they do. It's not a no, but should we be inviting them in to give us some more information, give us an opportunity to get to know them? That's what I'm saying.
Okay, the problem is I'd already asked for the vote. And people
Okay.
put hands up. I appreciate what you're saying. And I believe there were 4 hands went up. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, at least. Did you put your hand up, Councillor Dave Smith? You did 5. Okay, so that's carried anyway. I would like to, it's perhaps a bit late to add a caveat, but I'd like to know what happens if they don't get that Community Action Suffolk funding. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, there's nothing for us to ask them to come in. If they want to, we can ask them, to come in and give a chat. Hopefully, can we invite them, Colin, to come along?
Of course, yes,
Yeah.
we can certainly do that.
But hopefully they will have a report of them at some point.
A report doesn't answer questions. It just a series of statements. Councillors might prefer to invite them in any case, just so that they know exactly what's going on, and perhaps in terms of the money that's just been voted through, that it might be an opportunity for councillors to suggest that in the course of the next year that Home Start perhaps look at diverting some of the money being spent on mileage to recruiting and training somebody local, so that in terms of sustaining it in future years, it's less expensive for supporters such as the council to continue, and less challenging to supporters to be able to continue to support their work.
Certainly more advertising, if that's the right word to use. Yeah.
Well, a local person may find that a lot easier. Home Start, when Home Start started off, it was incredibly well funded, and it was one of those things that the national government kind of announced that the new version of sliced bread, and when it was last year's Christmas presents, it had its funding absolutely slashed, which is a huge shame.
Yeah, I think one of the problems, like many of these organisations, and I say we've had it again on there, is when it comes to how much money have you got in reserves, they report and the only figure they've got is obviously the whole organisation, not the individual thing. So I know they have been rejected, and this not just this one, a lot of other organisations have been rejected because they say we've got millions and millions, and of course we look at it and say, well, use that, but that's unfortunately the terminology of reserves rather than cash reserves. Okay, that's fine.
So that's an action then, is it? We can invite him in. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, if at least you can make a note of that, that'd be great.
Okay, item 9C for Charlie, Churches Together. Now, I found an error on their application in that they're asking for 1,775 from us, but their total costs are 1975, but there's no actual, not like read it, could see anyway, that of that difference in £200. So I'm not 100% certain how much they are. So Nick, you may know about this because I'm assuming that you're involved with this somehow, are you?
I'm not involved, but they came and asked about the project. Is it that there's some of it being given in kind? There was a reference to something in kind that I saw. I haven't got the thing in front of me.
Yeah, but normally you'd expect them to actually put a value on that if it was in kind. So it adds up. Unless I've misread it somewhere else, I couldn't see it anywhere. But anyway, so I'm assuming. Lost it again. So I've just opened the wrong one. Lost it.
The background I can provide is that they're looking to sort of add a community activities for Churches Together. Churches Together hasn't been the strongest organisation in the past number of years, but they've now got a little bit of a renewed impetus to give to that group, and they're trying to establish an annual event where people can come together. They're also looking to contribute to the community by coming out on the Friday night to sing in a choir as part of Family Christmas Night, and provide some entertainment just before the fireworks up at the bandstand as well. So they are looking to try and get their group better known and more effective in the town. And this seems like quite a good opportunity to contribute. They seem to a good opportunity to contribute towards the Super Saturday idea is that there's lots and lots of things going on from lots of different parts of the community.
Councillor Dave Smith.
One thing that jumps out at me, apart from the fact that the numbers don't add up, there's a £35 figure there somewhere, which seems to be doesn't correspond to anything else. But the music and carol sheets, I mean, I would have thought that one of the churches, I know St Felix does, has a license which enables them to sort of make copies of hymns, music and song and hymn words, so they can print as many copies as they like. So I don't understand why they need to £200 to buy music and carol sheets.
Chair, if I can help out there, Councillor Smith's observation and yours are connected in that on the application, the very first item under A, expenditure items, music and carol sheets 200, and then the only item under C, other income sources, is we hope to have music and carol sheets provided by local funeral directors and churches, exactly as Councillor Smith expected, and that's the donation rather than cash. So that's the £200 missing, is because they've put I don't know why they've bothered putting a value on it, but they've put a value on it. And then what they should have done, of course, they've just simply left the box blank to show that's the £200.
Yeah, I saw that, but I was just a bit, obviously we try to have these things accurate because we know what we're doing.
It came in at literally, I was literally about to press to turn the agenda into PDF when Nick's email came through. So it was literally added to the agenda at the very, very last moment. So apologies, but I suspect that like other applicants beforehand, they've omitted to complete one of the boxes, but it would explain the £200 discrepancy and answering the challenge to why they're paying for music. They're not. I don't know why they've put a value on it though.
Before I go back to Councillor Dave Smith again, I don't know if Councillor Lismith's got a hand up or not, but where do we stand with supporting religious bodies, and also where do we stand with inclusiveness of not just the Church of England and perhaps the Methodist and Roman Catholic, but all the other religions that are out there? How are they being inclusive?
As far as I understand it, Churches Together is open to any church that wishes to be a part of that organisation, and the activities that they're running are not necessarily religious activities. They're a message for the community, but it's not making people come to a church or follow any particular religion. It's telling a story.
Okay, the problem. I'm sorry, I was going to go on to the other two. The problem, it's no secret I'm not religious, but it's not that. It's things like the £500 for a PA. When if it's our event they're involved in, could we not provide that PA as part of our provision for the rest of the event? And also, I was a little bit surprised about the cost of the nativity scene, nearly £1,000. I don't know if anyone knows anything about that. But anyway, let me get on to Councillor Dave Smith first, and then Councillor Liz Smith.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the cost of the PA. Isn't it something that we could provide? The other thing, and again, you were saying about the religious side of it. It is, although it's churches together, it is literally Christian churches together in Haverhill. I did ask this question at my own church meeting the other week, because we always get a report back on the churches together, and I said, and they were talking about events, and I said, are the other faiths involved in this? And they said, no, not really. And it's whether or not they've been approached, I don't know, but I think it would be nice to get that inclusiveness of other people of other faiths and people of no faiths, because although they may not see Jesus as their saviour, they have that respect there.
Thanks. Councillor Liz Smith and Councillor Joe Mason.
I think because me and Dave sort of go along the same lines in the way, I think it's probably asked similar questions or said similar things to what I was going to say. I have raised it with Max in my discussions about the carol, community carol service on the 8th of December, about inviting other faiths to it, because it is supposed to be a community event. For example, the Muslim faith, they still many people still celebrate Christmas because they do recognise Jesus as a prophet. So I've asked for that to be extended to them for that particular service. But again, as you say, there's people with no faiths and other faiths that, you know, we perhaps churches together could involve a little bit more. I mean, obviously, it's not for us to tell them to do that, but that is something I think, you know, as a council, we would like to see more of, wouldn't we? With inclusiveness. Thank you.
It's certainly, before getting to Councillor Mason, it's certainly something that has come up at the Remembrance service, making sure that we invite all the religious, and because we invite a lot of non-religious groups, why not invite everybody? And, you know, they can obviously say no, that's fine, that's their prerogative, but thank you. Councillor Mason.
Yeah, I suspect I'm on slightly dodgy territory here. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, where it's an event that is about Christmas, and we've got a Christian group wanting some support to hold some activities related to Christmas, and we're talking about inclusivity for that. And you know, I'm just trying to think of the every man on the street, as to sometimes we can get rather hung up and tongue-tied on the idea of incorporating other faiths. But this is primarily a Christmas celebration, and yes, it is a broader community event. Everyone is welcome to appear. I don't necessarily have a strong opinion one way or another on this particular application, but I do think sometimes we can get a little bit hung up when I think probably the man on the street is saying, look, there's a church group wanting to organise something for Christmas, which seems perfectly appropriate, and yet we're beginning to second guess it because they're not inviting other faiths. Just another perspective.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for that. My major concerns are actually over those particularly obviously the error, but more the cost of the PA and the nativity scene. I presume it will be designed, built, and something, and then eventually stored and reused again at some point. That's my biggest problem. I would like to see those costs come down if possible.
I mean, we can certainly investigate to see if we can assist with the PA, but the PA that they need is a mobile PA so that it can move around the town. So it's got to be something which is loud enough and has got enough power, or has power with it, to be heard as they go. And we certainly don't have that bit of kit. We don't have a PA that can be used while it's on the move.
I do though. You know, so as an example. Okay, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, well, as Joe was saying, it's Christmas. They're providing, you know, what we hope is a good nativity scene, carols and one thing and another. Yeah, that's what makes Christmas. Yeah, I'm fully willing to support this.
Okay. Any other comments before we go to the vote? Councillor Liz Smith.
Although I would support this, as Tony Brown has stated, I think we can perhaps talk to these groups and ask them to look at their costs sometimes in the future. Because when I've been along to churches in the past and I've been involved in some of the things they put on, there is very much a community that puts together and contributes to that. So a lot of voluntary work, people volunteering their skills, like carpenters, you know, things like that. And there doesn't seem to be that sort of contribution from parishioners, if you like. I mean, I don't know what their situation is with the number of parishioners that have got active, but perhaps they could in future look more towards the voluntary skills of those that they know within their church communities. Thank you.
Councillor Mason, then back to Councillor Brown.
Yeah, just really, I really wanted to be clear on what we're actually going to be voting for. I mean, is there any scope for us to purchase as a council a portable PA that becomes a community asset for other user groups to possibly use? I mean, we're saying we don't have such a facility. Would there be, you know, my concern is we purchase the asset and it sits in a cupboard for the rest of the year and doesn't get used. It's a lot of money for something that only gets used on one evening.
Before Councillor Brown, I mean, I personally have a battery-operated portable PA with 2 microphones, UHF or VHF microphones, I can't remember which they are. You know, I'm not saying it would be the ideal thing, but it's worthwhile trying out to see whether it meets the requirements. It may need to be put on a little trolley or something because it has got wheels, but it's not designed for going along high streets and things like that. I lost you again. Councillor Brown, there you go.
Yeah, thanks again, Chair. So the £1,000 for the nativity scene, as you know, the cost of materials and everything lately has risen enormously. You know, £1,000 does not buy very much these days. So I can fully see, you know, why it's going to cost £1,000, etc. You know, to do it. Hopefully, it is something that it's a one-off, you know, cost, and they can just put back together every year. You know, so it's not just £1,000 for, you know, a one-off. It's something that hopefully will, you know, be used time and time again over the next few years.
Yeah, you know, I'm not saying it's not going to cost that, but there's no costing of that. It's just stated, you know, are the parishioners going to help out doing a bit of painting, a bit like the round table with their Christmas sled, you know.
Of course they are. It's obvious they can. Yeah,
well, I don't know if they are. I'm not saying they are. Okay. All right. I mean, I'm going to propose. Sorry, Colin. Go on.
I was just going to say that the where I worked before for a volunteer centre, they actually hired out at obviously very low cost the sort of PA system that you have in mind. I mean, I think we would want to defer to Nick's knowledge of these things to what would actually be appropriate. And obviously, £500 is a lot of money just for a hire. So if that goes, if that's half the cost of buying something, then in the course of 2 years, it's already paid itself back, and the third year is free, effectively. And as you say, there may be other groups, fates, sports events, you know, sort of the school sports day or any event where somebody might want a small PA system. I have to say, ourselves, this coming Saturday, wanting a small PA system to put a little bit of music out around the splash park whilst some bubbles are blown. It's probably a classic example of exactly the sort of kit that the churches together are talking about.
Okay, yeah, I mean, but equally, I'm saying I've got a PA system, a single speaker, albeit, that's sitting in my cupboard downstairs, not being used. Battery operated, doesn't need wires unless you're going to play music to it, of course. What I was going to propose is we give them, I'm assuming the 1975, on the basis that nobody is going to sponsor for them for the music, and it can't do what Councillor Elizabeth said about the copyright printing of music. They can't do that, but with a caveat that they try to reduce their costs down for things like that, PA, shop around, if you know what I mean. That's my proposal. Councillor Tony Brown.
Yeah, just another little caveat on that. Could Nick look into getting, a PA, for the town council, and that groups like them could use, and as Colin suggested, for our events. Yeah.
Sorry, Colin.
Sorry to other councillors know what to speak. I'm just going to point out that in terms of looking at lead times on things, the nativity scene is clearly a piece of work to be made, and not an inconsiderable piece of work to be made. So I wonder whether councillors might want to consider granting the bits that definitely need to be granted fairly quickly, and then just reserving on things like the music to confirm whether or not that is definitely going to be free to them. And in terms of the hire cost, they don't need that money to hire something straight away. That would give a little window of opportunity for us to decide whether or not we can, find out what it was they were going to hire. Is it suitable? Is it actually more cost effective to buy it and lend it to them for the event? So that you don't actually give them the whole lot of the money and then start saying, "Oh well, we wish you hadn't given you that £500."
Okay,
you can soon do it if that's still cheaper. If it turns out it's £10,000 worth of kit they're hiring, then you can give them the £500 later. So you could just stagger it. Basically, you could have one vote now to say give it this much to begin with, and the rest if that turns out to be the most cost-effective way to do it.
Makes sense.
Okay, so I'll amend that slightly. Sorry, Councillor Dave Smith.
Yeah, what I was going to suggest. Would it be possible to defer this to the full council meeting in a fortnight's time, so we could investigate the costs of a portable PA system for ourselves? Is that possible to do?
It is anyway, councillor, because this is a working party. So although we wouldn't expect a decision here to be reversed, we wouldn't put ourselves in the position of the awkwardness of saying we've actually already handed the money out. We only did that under the last meeting because I did it under my delegated authority because there was time was ticking away. But I would hope, and perhaps we can check with the churches together, that a fortnight is not critical in terms of the lead time for the nativity scene.
Councillor Furman.
Sorry, John wouldn't know more than me, but I've got a couple of portable PA systems. I've got a Fender 1000C system here, and that only cost, with 2 speakers, battery operated, 4 microphones, all the caboodle, £825.
Right.
That's all that cost. I mean, that is, which would be ample for that. But if anyone needed to borrow one, I've got the proper key. I've got 2 of these here in my actual office, which are very, very good, very, very loud.
Yeah.
So you took no more than Nick one. There's no more. You wouldn't spend no more than £1,000 for one of them systems, and that would be top notch.
Yeah, to buy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I say, if it just needs a simple portable single PA, then I've got one that is perfectly okay.
Yeah, but John, is that strong enough, though, John?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What's the power in him?
Oh, I can't remember the money.
Exactly, John. Exactly.
I bought it specifically for meetings and being outside. So
yeah. Okay.
I'm not saying it would do the job, but at least we should investigate. And I agree with Colin.
Poundland.
It wasn't Poundland. It was £200 or £300 that I paid for it. Okay, I'll amend my amendment. I'll amend my proposal. Then let's recommend to full council that we offer £1,475, with a caveat that we can go that extra money, and but also allowing for the music sheets. Depends on what happens with that. Councillor Dave Smith, you're going to say what?
I'm going to say, well, they're only asking for £1,775, not £1,975.
No, but that included the whether or not.
But that's not what they're asking for.
I know. But we can propose anything we like. But that's why I say the caveat of if they can get the music sheets printed legally through the copyright system, I have no idea how that works. Then obviously that will come down by £200. How does that sound? Does that make sense, Colin? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll propose that. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Liz Smith. All those in favour, please show. At the end of the day, it's only a recommendation anyway. Right, finally, thank you for that, everybody. Date of next meeting is Tuesday, the 9th of November. About 6 days before Remembrance Day, Sunday. Okay, lovely. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. I'll close the meeting at 20:36.